Have you ever felt like you're constantly playing catch-up, striving to win the heart of a woman who truly occupies your thoughts? As if, despite all your politeness, kindness, and attentiveness, you just don't quite measure up to her ideal? Perhaps you've even heard her say that you're a wonderful person, a great friend, but nothing more. And then a wave of disappointment washes over you, bringing with it the age-old question, why him, and not me? If these thoughts resonate with you, don't leave just yet, because what you're about to learn can fundamentally change how women perceive you, and, even more importantly, how you perceive yourself. We're going to talk about what you truly need to know about women. Not what they say, but what genuinely drives them, what ignites their desires, what makes them choose. You'll discover how to become that exceptional man who doesn't plead, doesn't wait, doesn't diminish himself, but confidently leads, genuinely provokes, and ultimately wins. The first thing you must realize is that it all begins with a transformation of your mindset. The key to success is simple: change how you see yourself, reframe your reality. But today, we're going further, because it's not enough to simply see yourself in a new light. You need to start acting differently. And for that, I'll offer a quick, practical, and effective method to get what you want from women, without asking for permission, without fearing you'll seem arrogant, without dreading rejection. Perhaps this approach won't earn your mother's approval. Maybe some of your school teachers would be surprised, having taught you since childhood to be polite, to be pleasant, so as not to make anyone uncomfortable. And subtly, you came to the conclusion that this meant not speaking about your desires. You began to believe that desiring was wrong, that expressing desire was aggression, that asking for anything was inconvenient. And unfortunately, this turned you into an invisible man, polite but unnoticed, present but easily replaceable. But here's the truth that was hidden from you: there is nothing more attractive than a man who knows exactly what he wants. A man who looks a woman in the eye and unequivocally makes his intentions clear. Without games, without beating around the bush, without fearing he's too much. Women feel this. It draws them in because a man who confidently and openly expresses his desire awakens something in them that transcends logic. It's a direct appeal to their instinctive nature. If you find frankness offensive, perhaps you're confusing sincerity with rudeness. There's a vast difference between honesty and disrespect. And you'll learn how to navigate that line elegantly, safely, and sensually. But let me ask you a question: how many times have you wanted to tell a woman you desired more than just friendship, but chose to remain silent? How many times did you settle for the nice guy role, hoping that someday she would appreciate your qualities? How many times have you felt rejected in favor of someone who, frankly, didn't possess half your virtues? The difference between you and them isn't in physique, financial status, or height. It's in how they present themselves. They don't ask, they demonstrate, they lead. They express their desires, and women follow men who take on the role of leader. This is the starting point. You need to shed outdated beliefs. You must discard the notion that desire should be hidden. You are not rude because you strive for something. Your aspirations are not reprehensible. You are a man. And it is this correctly channeled masculine energy that awakens genuine interest in a woman. An interest born not from memorized phrases, but from how you manifest yourself in the world, with confidence, with determination, with desire. And this is the first step towards your transformation. In the following days, you will learn about a simple, clear, and powerful exercise, potent enough to begin changing your life. An exercise that will help you reawaken your desires, gain clarity, and find courage. And believe me, once you master it, you'll understand that the goal of the game was never to please. The game was always about how you present yourself. You'll learn how to enter the game to win. Have you ever been captivated by a woman's mere glance? The kind who seemed to stop time with her presence, and your only desire was to touch her, to see desire and genuine interest in her eyes. But instead of acting, you froze in indecision, hiding your feelings. You suppressed the words you wanted to speak. You pretended not to care, and then she walked away. Perhaps she smiled at another man. Perhaps she started dating someone who wasn't half as attentive as you, but who had the courage to express his feelings, to state his desires. It is at this moment that many men fail. Desire burns within, but you cage it, mask it, turn it into harmless conversation, into trivial pleasantries, and thereby become predictable, expected, and ultimately, invisible. Women crave to feel masculine interest, which is revealed in intonation, gaze, and manner of communication. The key to this is the ability to openly express your desires. The I want exercise becomes a powerful tool for transformation. This simple phrase is the foundation of desire, the beginning of leadership, and the distinguishing mark of a person who takes initiative. The natural, confident, and sensual use of this phrase awakens attraction in women towards a bold man. It's important to note that this is not about rudeness or arrogance, which are merely masks for weakness. True confidence manifests in the ability to elegantly express your desires, to look someone in the eye and calmly say, "I want to see you again." It's an invitation, not coercion, engagement, not a demand. A man unafraid to express his desires stands out from the crowd of nice guys and becomes unforgettable. An example is the story of a man who always did everything right but couldn't hold women's interest for long. He felt desire but couldn't express it. The I want exercise, which he practiced 5 times a day, helped him change the situation. At first, he felt uncomfortable, afraid of seeming selfish, but over time, his posture changed, his voice became firmer, and his gaze, more direct. When he applied this in communication with a woman, the result was astonishing. He expressed his desire to be more than just a friend, and in response, received a smile and the words, "Finally." Women are waiting for a man to show his courage and take on the role of leader by expressing his desires. When a man knows what he wants and isn't afraid to say it, his attractiveness increases, regardless of appearance or financial status. Authenticity is what matters, and it is irresistible. In the coming days, it is recommended to practice the phrase "I want" 5 times a day in various situations. It's important to say it clearly, confidently, and intentionally, observing the reactions of others and your own feelings. Gradually, your energy will begin to change, and a new interest will appear in women's eyes. This is only the beginning, as this exercise will impact all aspects of your life, from your gait to a woman's reaction after a first date. A man who knows his desires and doesn't apologize for them doesn't just attract, he conquers and stays. Some men possess a magnetism and calmness that instantly changes the atmosphere in a room. They exude an intention that is irresistibly appealing to women. It's crucial for a woman to feel this from a man. This influence of I want becomes apparent when the exercise becomes part of your personality. It's not just a mechanical repetition of a phrase, but an energy that shifts a man from a position of waiting to a position of leadership. There is nothing more seductive than a man who leads, doesn't hesitate, doesn't hide his feelings, and isn't afraid to express his desires. Many men fear appearing too persistent and are afraid of being rejected. However, women don't run from persistent men, they run from insecure ones. It's not desire that frightens them, but doubt and hesitation. When a man looks a woman in the eye and calmly, firmly, and with a hint of playfulness in his voice expresses his desires, she feels it. If she's interested, she will certainly reciprocate, because the man has shown desire and confidence. Consider the instructive story of a man who seemed destined for the role of eternal waiter. He waited for the opportune moment, sought a cherished signal, yearned for certainty of mutual feelings. Alas, his lot was merely a firm place in the friend zone. But one day, after 2 weeks of diligent practice of the I want exercise, a transformation occurred within him. He didn't turn into a completely different person, he simply stopped seeking approval for his feelings. One evening, in the company of a woman he had known for only a few months, he boldly declared, "I want you now, but only if that desire is mutual." In the ensuing silence, she, struck by his frankness, graced him with a smile. Then he resolutely said, "Enough waiting." It's important to note that it wasn't so much about the words as it was about the confident manner in which they were spoken. His body radiated desire, elegantly breaking free, unburdened by pressure or need, but merely by honest truth. It is this internal state, where I want becomes not just a phrase but a way of life, that needs to be cultivated. This is not achieved by memorizing phrases, but by allowing yourself to feel and express those feelings without censorship and without fear of disturbing another person's peace. For a person connected to their true desires doesn't bother, on the contrary, they provoke. Imagine for a moment that on your next date, you're not striving to be perfect, but simply present here and now. You're not rushed, but you have a clear understanding of your desires. You don't coerce, but you provoke interest. You don't play a role, but you take the initiative. Instead of an uncertain, maybe we could go out sometime, you confidently say, I want to see you tomorrow. Instead of a timid question, so, will I see you again, you sincerely declare, I enjoyed being with you, and I want to do it again. What if she says no? Excellent. You thank her, smile, and move on, because you don't need to beg. You know what you want, and that alone puts you head and shoulders above the rest. However, if the thought of such a conversation makes you uncomfortable, it means there's something within you that needs to be broken. The task is to break this pattern, and that will take your I want to a whole new level. You'll learn to use this energy not only in words, but in controlling your entire being, so that you silently radiate confidence, I know what I want. And when you achieve this, she will be the one craving your attention. Statistics show that over 70% of women lose interest in men not due to a lack of physical attractiveness, but due to their indecisiveness. It's not about a perfect body, an expensive car, or memorized compliments, but about presence, decisiveness, and the feeling a woman gets even before you say a word, the feeling that you know exactly what you want. Most men underestimate the power of this factor. But when you realize that your presence is your most convincing signature, everything changes. You begin to move and speak with intention, and she feels it with her whole body, every cell of her skin. Recall the effect of the first touch. Neurobiological studies have shown that the touch of a confident person activates brain regions associated with pleasure, even in the most minor interactions. This means that when a man touches a woman calmly, confidently, and with gentle firmness, her body reacts before her mind. Desire ignites in silence, and it doesn't necessarily have to be something bold. It manifests in how you hold her hand, how your palm confidently and unhesitatingly touches hers, in the temperature of your skin as you approach her without the slightest apprehension. Her body reads all these signals and makes a decision even before she consciously realizes it. This is why the I want exercise goes beyond simple words. It changes your physiology. When you get used to expressing your desires, your body responds accordingly, shoulders straighten, voice deepens, gaze becomes calm and confident. And this attracts. Women connect not with memorized phrases, but with the person behind them. And when that person is clear, when he doesn't hesitate and expresses himself without fear, he becomes unforgettable, even if the interaction lasts only a few minutes. Let's recall the story of Philip, who always tried to please everyone. He never said no, always smiled and agreed to everything, even if it went against his desires. He considered himself a good partner, but women always kept their distance from him. One day, he got tired of being someone who pleased everyone but himself. His I want exercise started small. He began ordering what he truly wanted at restaurants, stopped apologizing for changing his mind, and clearly expressed his preferences. Having transformed internally, he soon noticed a change in the external world as well. Within a couple of weeks, a colleague who had previously paid him little attention suddenly noted his new demeanor. And a week later, an invitation for a date followed. And then, in a moment of intimacy, as he looked into her eyes and said, I want to kiss you, she agreed without hesitation. Thus began a story that, as he himself admitted, would never have happened had he remained the man who timidly sought approval. Such metamorphoses are not isolated incidents. They are a natural consequence when a man begins to live in harmony with himself, realizing his wholeness. A man driven by desire expresses it openly and acts decisively. He understands that sensuality is not manifested in words, but in how he occupies space, how he appears in society. He doesn't need to prove anything, he simply exists, and that is enough to attract glances, arouse curiosity, and spark interest. Now imagine all this reinforced by conscious actions, how he invites her out, how he observes her, how he gently touches her hair, how he thoughtfully supports her as they walk side by side. He doesn't ask for permission, he takes the initiative. And a woman perceives this as a manifestation of confidence, strength, and true masculinity. There's no need to be aggressive, it's enough to be clear and firm, while remaining yourself, without pretense, without masks, without excuses. Next, you will learn how to transform this "I want" into an invisible presence that lingers even after you're gone. How to create that rare and powerful effect where she thinks of you, without even realizing why. And it all begins with a barely perceptible detail that most men overlook. But once you master it, she will feel it and remember, because desire begins with a touch, but it is presence that awakens the craving for more. What happens when a man stops asking for permission to exist and confidently takes his place in the world? What changes when he doesn't just desire, but expresses his desire firmly, calmly, with his entire being? The answer is obvious: everything changes. Women look at him differently. Conversations acquire a new rhythm. Touches are filled with a different energy, because now he isn't trying to please, he's leading. He lives by his true desires, which are an integral part of his personality. And it is this that attracts the most. It's not about appearance or achievements, but about presence. Remember that guy who constantly hesitated? Who deliberated over every word? Who suppressed his desires for fear of appearing pushy, aggressive, or inadequate? That person is no longer there. In his place is someone who looks in the mirror and realizes his strength. Someone who values his attention and doesn't waste it on those who don't deserve it. Someone who openly speaks of his desires and respectfully regards others' choices. This is true sensuality, emotional maturity, which attracts. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be real. You need to stop hiding behind forced smiles and embrace the power that pulsates within. Yes, the desire to act differently, to speak confidently, to conduct yourself with dignity was always there, and that desire was not mistaken. It simply needed permission, which has now been granted. Now you have the right and the obligation to take your place in the world, clearly, intensely, and sensually. Women are not looking for someone who says the right words, but someone who feels correctly. Have the courage to be yourself, not to hide your desires. Know how to touch with your gaze before you touch with your hand. Know how to say, "I want you," so that it sounds not like a plea, but like a conscious choice. Because when you are connected to this inner strength, no rejection can break you. There is only a choice: you offer, and if the offer is not accepted, you move on, knowing that your worth does not depend on someone else's approval. It is in your blood, in your voice, in how you appear in society. If you've made it this far, you've already taken a step that few dare to take. You've opened the path to transformation, and this transformation is just beginning. And most importantly, remember, when you stop running from yourself, the world will begin to yield to your attractiveness. And women feel it. Over the next 7 days, you are to put all the knowledge you've gained into practice, not just in theory, but in real life. Every day, you will strengthen your presence, clarity, and ability to express your desires with confidence and sensuality. Day 1 *. Try using the phrase "I want" at least 5 times in various situations. At work, at home, in a cafe, when talking to friends. It's important to move out of a passive state and start voicing your desires, while also paying attention to your posture. Day 2 *. This day marks the expansion of communication horizons, as a woman is consciously included in the practice of intentional interaction. This involves a casual conversation with an acquaintance, where the man confidently expresses his thoughts and feelings. It's important to avoid pretense and exaggeration, staying true to yourself and conveying truth in every word. Day 3 *. The focus shifts to the power of the gaze, the mirror of the soul. In social interactions, it is recommended to maintain steady eye contact, not looking away or showing insecurity. Presence in the gaze becomes the starting point for establishing a deep connection with the interlocutor. Day 4 *. This day is dedicated to understanding body language. In every movement, be it walking, entering a room, or talking, one should exhibit intention and avoid nervousness. The body, like a compass, points to true desires, anticipating words and guiding actions. Day 5 *. You are encouraged to express a specific personal desire to another person. Phrases like "I want to see you again," "I want to get to know you better," or "I want to ask you out" should be spoken sincerely and directly, without any hint of coercion. It's important to carefully observe the other person's reaction. Day 6 *. This is the day of the power of refusal. In situations where there's a temptation to say yes out of a desire to please, you need to pause and voice your true desire. The ability to say no respectfully is a powerful tool for demonstrating confidence and awareness of your own worth. Day 7 *. The 7th day culminates the practice, combining all elements of confident behavior: words, gaze, body language, and actions. The man is encouraged to visit a place where he can interact with women, be it a cafe or a market, and demonstrate his wholeness. Even without bold declarations, his energy will speak for itself, attracting attention and sparking interest. The proposed plan is the beginning of a new chapter in a man's life, where he stops being a passive recipient of choices and becomes an active creator of his destiny, attracting attention not with pleas, but with natural charm.